Welcome back to Sports Light Sports Talk Show presented by BCCTV. I'm your host, Rineric, and today joining me is Coach Walker. How are you doing today, Coach?
I'm good, Rineric. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you for coming onto the show. It's a great honor, especially from a coach that has just been coming back from a four-peat, of course. Back-to-back champions. For people that may not know, he's the head coach of St. Roch Secondary High School football team. He's also the coach for Team Canada.
Team Ontario. And I'm the defensive coordinator for high school, so I'm assistant to the head coach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Coach Walker, he's not only a coach, but he's also a teacher, and he's also a good mentor, a great father, of course.
Appreciate that.
So today in this episode, I'll just be talking about his journey, why does he love the sport so much, and what inspires him to be a coach. So please stay tuned, and we'll be back very shortly. Welcome back, everyone. So, Coach, tell me, what inspired you to become a coach, and how has your coaching style changed and evolved during the time that, because we all know football has changed throughout the years. So how were you able to adapt and kind of change your coaching style to be able to work on other players?
Good question. Well, firstly, what inspired me to coach, I think, stems from just my experiences being an athlete for as long as I have been. I've been exposed to great coaches and mentors in my career, in my life, as a young person, and it was something that I kind of felt like I knew with the game, when the game was done with me in terms of me playing, I felt like it wasn't going to end there. I felt like I had more to give back. I was usually, a captain or a leader growing up, and I've been told by my coaches and other people who knew me well enough that there may be a future in me having a leadership role or a coach one day. And at first I didn't really think of it, and later on I kind of felt like it was natural. And so, I decided to, start volunteering. And then when I started coaching, I was about 20 or 21, and I coached a bit of Brandon Bulldogs for a little bit, and I realized something that I was really interested in. And then when I got my teaching job at St. Roch in 2011 is when I became a full-time coach, and it's been amazing since, and I realized that's kind of been my calling. Yeah. And I feel like a gratification of, just feeling like I'm able to impact lives, not just on the field, but in terms of just being a mentor, as you mentioned before, and just helping young men kind of mold their future to help them get to their goals, really. And in terms of how, I have changed my coaching style with the evolution of the game, through a number of different things. I think first and foremost is understanding that the game changes. You have different athletes come in, different rules that happen, different policies that change. So when those things happen, it's more educating yourself, right? I've been to a number of coaching clinics. I try to, I gather things online. I try to inform myself through people who've coached me. I speak to them to get some insight. I pay particular attention to detail when it comes to what things make a player better, and whether it's their position or whether it's just the delivery on a message, and even just using resources and technology now to make the game better. I realize the game is changing, so for me, it's just staying informed with what helps people now and educating myself as much as I can.
So what is your approach to trying to build a strong team culture?
Culture is the most important thing, right? It doesn't matter the talent you have, the personalities. We all got to be on the same page if we want to achieve a goal, right? So it really does come down to first modeling what good culture is, starting from the top. We can't say that we expect certain things if we're not willing to do those things ourselves as leaders and coaches and teachers. So, I try to, model the behavior as much as possible. If things aren't going a certain way, or people are stepping out of line, when it comes to affirmative and progressive discipline, those kind of things, right? But showing that there's emphasis on caring for the athletes, not just the game itself, but where they're going to go with it. So, football is a game where you're learning about life. It's not just winning and losing. It's really about building the skills necessary that you're going to need in life to win in life. So becoming a team person, respect, focusing, discipline, doing your homework, right? Just staying on top of those things. I think culture starts from just modeling what you expect and staying firm with those beliefs, because if you start to bend, then culture gets manipulated by the individuals, but football's a team sport. So we emphasize team above the I.
Yes. So how would you say you would handle conflicts, and challenges between your players, whether it's in class, if one of the students are having troubles in class, or even if it's a team problem where two players are having a conflict, or it could be during a game, how would you assess the situation and kind of de-escalate the situation from happening and increasing?
Well, I think the first thing you got to do, and it's what we do right at the beginning, is setting the expectations, right?
Yeah.
You know, so players know here's what our environment is, here are our goals, here are our rules for to being a part of this team, whether it's academic, whether it's behavior, whether it's whatever it is, there are rules set at the beginning. Now, if and when those things start to be breached, that's when, you know, I try to approach, or we as coaches try to approach the situation to gather information from all parties involved before making decisions. But it's really important that they understand that things won't just be brushed under the rug. Like, we're going to address those things, because you never know what, you know, there's three sides to every story, right? And so what we do is we try to enforce, you know, communication. That's a very important thing, right? So again, having conversations with the ones involved, and then mediation between them, right? We come to a common ground, we move forward. If things progress or things start to continue, then there becomes more progressive discipline when it comes to that. You know, where, you know, players understand they are in control of their own destiny. So if something is happening where it's in their control and they want to continue to breach that, or having conflict with another player, which is going to happen, it's life. It's, if they haven't shown that they're remorseful and that they're willing to change, if it continues to be I, then they're going to learn, well, the more that's going to happen, the more they're going to affect the team culture, and then they're going to lose certain privileges, you know, that they had given to them prior to those conflicts. So we expect there to be conflict. You know, it's a passionate game. In any team environment or group, you're going to have different personalities, people butt heads, which is fine. But again, there's a certain line that we maintain where, you know, if it becomes disrespectful or unsafe or something like that, it's dealt with immediately. We don't let those things kind of slide, but communication is the first thing that we try to really, really address and harp on.
So can you also share a coaching moment that had a major impact on your career?
Yeah, I think for me, I've had a number of different experiences that I think have really impacted me, you know, for the better. I would probably have to attribute it to, I'd say, if I'm going as far back as I can, I would say just being able to, when I first started coaching with the Brampton Bulldogs, I was coaching, you know, I was coaching with another head coach who, you know, coached my older brother. And I've always watched my brother play when I was younger, before I started playing the game. And so now to be working alongside him, I didn't know, you know, what it took to, I knew how to play the game, but I didn't know what it was like to be a coach. And then I felt for the first time this sense of, oh my gosh, there's all eyes on me and they're looking at me for guidance. And just that kind of moment of, okay, I have an opportunity now to really help somebody and really impact my community in a positive way. That gave me a sense of like hopefulness, where I felt like, okay, this is actually real. This is not a joke. Like, I can actually do this. And so my first gig coaching, you know, Pee Wee football, I had so much fun. And I really realized, you know, how fun it was to give back. And I think for me, that was the ultimate goal. It wasn't a paid gig. It was just something to do because it was something that I knew, at least playing the game, but I didn't know how to coach it yet. And when I got the positive feedback about how it went, I wanted to learn more and learn more and learn more. So then by the time I got to high school, I knew right from the jump. Actually, before that, when I went to university, I played a few 5 years in the university, and then it got to a point where after my 5th year, I said, you know what, I think I'm gonna coach. And so I knew for sure I wanted to be one after my experiences with my initial coach with Brampton.
Okay. So I also have a question related to that. So like as a coach, how are you able to spot leadership in a player? How are you able to also develop leadership into a player, especially your captains? How are you able to know, okay, this is going to be my captain, I know this person is going to be able to lead the team, that I can really depend on them? Whereas, like, if the players are not listening to you, I know that these players can get their voice out to be able to attract the players to actually listen and focus. Because whether it's in practice or even games, some players could be distracted and not dialed into what's going on. They might have their focus on something else. So how are you able to know and actually trust someone to be able to lead the team behind you?
Well, firstly, it doesn't happen quickly. We take time. We don't acknowledge captains right away. It takes us a while before. It has to be earned. So when it comes to identifying who our leaders are going to be. Firstly, we tell everyone can be a leader. Even if you're not wearing a captaincy in your shirt or anything like that, you can still be a leader, right? But what the two things I look for are behavior and consistency. So consistent behavior. So you can say anything you want, right? Oh yeah, I've done this, and I'm going to lead in whatever way I'm going to lead. I'm going to do all these things. That's fine and great. But let's see what you're actually doing, because actions speak louder than words.
Yes.
So we basically leave it up to them. We in a way just we observe. We observe certain things on and off the field. A lot of times, mostly off and on. So how's a student in the classroom? How are they among their peers? What kind of reviews are we getting from their peers or other people who know who this kid is, right? If they're telling us somebody who's got leadership quality, well, we'll take a look. So we analyze and we observe them over time to see how they respond to different adversity. Yes. We see if they're vocal, if they could communicate, and then what tends to happen is people around them will respect them more, and we can see that. So once you see that someone is being more respected because they're modeling this behavior and it's consistent, then that's typically someone that we're going to say that's going to be our leader. That could be our captain one day. Yes. So that's kind of how we assess that. It doesn't happen overnight. When it comes down to how we could enforce leadership, when it comes to when they're in that role, it's really it's making these students or that player know that they have a responsibility. It's like the old Spider-Man movie. With great power comes great responsibility. Yes. Yeah, it's that whole mentality of, well, at the end of the day, if you've had this position given to you, you now have an opportunity where not everybody else has. How are you going to use that opportunity? And so having that communication, that open dialogue with those players is what we do. We also have meetings with our leader, with our captains, right? We ask them how things are going with the team. We give them certain roles to do, we give them certain tasks to do. And if they're upkeeping those things, then we know, okay, this person is doing their job. But as easy as you could get that job, you could lose that as well. So we have had players in the past where, they may have shown those qualities at the beginning, but because it wasn't consistent, they maybe lost that role or were kind of pushed into another, So, but yeah, I just think it comes down to just identifying behavior. And once you see what's going on, it's communicating that and giving them a chance to lead, because people who are leaders in this world just need an opportunity. And if they don't have the opportunity, how are you going to know who's a leader? Right? So everyone has it at the beginning, but we want to analyze and see and observe who's going to be consistently being that leader.
Well, thank you very much, Coach, for that. We will be coming back very shortly, so please stay tuned after this break. Welcome back, everyone. Now, Coach, how do you spot potential in a player, and how do you help that player grow as a man on and off the field?
So spotting potential could be done in a number of ways. One of the things that we typically do is just we evaluate work ethic, right, as opposed to just talent itself, right? Anyone can be talented but not really hardworking, and it doesn't really go very far. So we kind of look at the ones who are eager, asking questions, who show up to practice every single day, who want to get better, who spend the extra time in the weight rooms, extra time in the classroom watching film. Those things are intangible, and once you see that in a player, the rest, the talent comes with it. So we can coach that. You coach everything else, but you can't coach work ethic.
So can you share a moment where you helped a player overcome a major setback, whether it's poor performance or even an injury?
Yeah, there's so many I could talk about, but I'll give you one instance. I had a player who had all the physical capability, was built like a professional, was new to the game of football, didn't play a whole lot of football, and had him in a position where, they were slated to be the starter and big performer. And unfortunately, mentally, they weren't getting the plays right. They kept making a lot of mistakes, mental errors. He got pretty frustrated. He wasn't sure what was going on. So he and I spent a lot of time together one-on-one. We broke down film. We talked about technique. I spent more time with him working on his technique to kind of visualize what I need to see him do. And he had a hard time mentally because he felt like he was letting me down or letting his team down, because everyone knew he was going to be a good player, but he wasn't performing. But he spent that time. And I think he needed to know that somebody cared and somebody really saw his potential. And we just spent more time together, slowed the game down a little bit, came on his lunches, we talked, we went over things he had to do. And I slowly saw him in practice building up all these skills. It got so much better. He ended up being one of our better players and getting a scholarship to play football at Queen's University. So was really excited to see his progression.
So what advice would you give your players to handle pressure, and how to handle high stake games, and in the middle of a game, if let me say you guys are down and losing, how would you motivate and what advice would you give your players to keep their head up, to keep going no matter the situation they're in?
I think that happens outside the game. It should have been done before. So I think when the game's going on and things are happening, I don't think you could really coach how to prepare for that when the game is already happening. Those things got to be dealt with before. So it's the players putting the effort and focus into practice. The work comes in practice. So how they treat practice is how they're going to perform in games. So we make practices hard. We challenge them in practice. We give them adversity in practice. So that way when the game comes, it's rehearsal. It'll be a lot easier in games, and then they've already experienced the highs and the lows of a competitive atmosphere outside of the games, where when the game hits, it's, okay, well, you know what, I've been here before, we got this. And then that's contagious. And other players see that, and then they're good. If it happens to be a conversation in the game, it's just, no, let's go, keep pushing heads up. This is, we always say the score is always 0-0. The game's never over until it's over. We've had games where we've come from behind and won. We've had games where we've been ahead and we've lost. So the game could change like that. Just knowing just to stay the course the entire game, 100% effort in every play. Everything else will take care of itself if we give full effort.
I agree. So now, what are the long-term goals for St. Rock, for the team?
I think to keep on building what we already have. The culture has been really good. Actually, I want to make sure it gets better. I think you can never say the same. You always get better or worse. So I feel if we just keep consistent with our philosophy, keep consistent with our culture, right? And we keep on being there for these students who are going to make something out of their lives outside of just football. It's amazing when we see these guys go on and they get scholarships. That's great, but it's even better when we see them going to university and college or whatever they want to do, and they're graduating, they're coming back saying, sir, or coach, here's what I'm doing in my life. That's the bigger picture. And they're going to get core skills to become better men in the future.
So how do you plan to keep pushing the team to the next level in terms of performance and success?
Challenging them. Challenge. Can't be too comfortable, right? So when you're too comfortable, you get lazy, right? And you get too lackadaisical. So I think continuously pushing the bar. Bar set, keep on raising it. And the more you challenge somebody, they'll more and more reach their potential.
So how are you managing right now, preparing for the off season? Because I know the season's done right now, and also planning for the upcoming season next year.
All right. So right now we're in a stage in which we are just accumulating, our current players who are going to be coming back. We'll be entering our mini spring camp pretty soon to get these guys back into shape. A lot of them are playing, OSFL or summer football, so they're already committed to other teams, other sports teams in the high school as well. But the most important thing right now is their schooling and their mental preparation. Now that there's no practices for them, the expectation is that they are on their own doing weight stuff. But when it comes to the classroom, we are pretty much full steam ahead. Make sure that they're taking care of their schooling. We're meeting with them, connecting these students with guidance counselors, pulling their marks up, the grades, just trying to help them academically at this point.
And my last question is, if there was one thing you would like to tell the community or even the whole of GTA about your team's future, what would it be? What would you want them to expect from St. Rock?
I think just to expect there's going to be a standard that's going to continuously rise. We expect our players to just push themselves to their limits. Football's not for everybody, but if they decide to put the helmet on and show up, we're going to push everyone to their limits. And it's for the love of the game and for the love of them and for the betterment of their future. So it's a program that we do have a high bar set. And I just want to see the best for all of our players and student athletes and see, where football will take them in their lives and just be a part of that process for them.
Well, thank you very much, Coach, for that. Well, you guys heard it firsthand from Coach Walker himself. One thing I'd say about St. Rock itself, with the short time that I was there, and I was also a player, not even only him, the coaching staff itself, they always made sure their athletes were ahead in their class. If you weren't doing good in your class, you're not playing. It's not just, you're just going to come there and just play and get a scholarship. If you're not doing your work in your class, they won't play you. And it's not because they don't like you or they dislike you. It's to prepare you, because life is not only about football. Life is not only about sports. Life is about you being able to be good in the class, being a better person, because something could happen where you're unable to play the sport anymore, and if you don't have a plan B, you can't just depend on just playing football. Football is my life. I can't do anything, So that's one thing I really admire about the coaching staff is that they care about their athletes, because they're not only just coaches, they're also teachers. I had Coach Walker as my teacher also, and he was always on my butt to make sure I did my work and submit it, because he's not only, because he knows I have the skill, but he wants to make sure that I make it in life as a person and not just only an athlete. So that's one thing I would say about the coaching staff at St. Roch. They're very helpful, and if any athletes out there that want to pursue playing football, I do recommend St. Roch because their coaching staff are good. The team, the environment itself is a good environment, and I feel like a lot of people would love it. So thank you for coming again on the show. It was very nice having you.
No, it's my pleasure. Thanks for bringing me on.
Yes, thank you. So that is it for today's episode. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so that you will be notified whenever we drop another episode like this. Once again, I'm your host, Rineric, and today was joining me was Coach Walker from St. Roch Catholic Secondary School, and that was it for today's episode.